Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Virtual Racers Club. We're here Sunday evening with the Formula X Round 2 at Alsace Village 2, reverse, however you want to say it. And Round 1 was absolutely banging, so I am really looking forward to this one at Alsace Village. What is Formula X if you missed the first round? Well, we've gone for like Formula 1, but with the Red Bull VRC Formula X Championship is inspired by the question, what if Formula 1 went in the direction of the Red Bull X 2014 standard? The championship will have a familiar feel to it, with famous names from Formula 1 being represented by two drivers, as well as the opportunity for team principals to be involved in deciding whether to spend tokens on car development throughout the season. The season will be 10 weeks long and races will be 150 miles at famous circuits in the game. There you go. Every two races they get in the Manufacturers' Championship, they get tokens to spend on development, which then go on a wheel of death. They'll either get a bonus, a better, an engine bump up or a weight decrease, or they could end up with a weight increase and a power decrease. So there is a bit of jeopardy to using your tokens. The more tokens, I suppose, the more opportunities you'll have. We're just watching Darren Salmon in the Mercedes there. Our teams are Alpine, and the team principal of Alpine is the Mika Wivry, and her drivers are Noxie and I.R. Graham. Can we see any of those out there? I can't see any of those out there at the moment. Oh yeah, Noxie in third fastest in the Alpine. Sweet livery on that bad boy. Then we have Aston Martin with team principal Pat, and he's got Jam and Matt Psycho driving for him. We've got in second place there in the Martin. Then for Team Ferrari, team principal is Gazman, and they have Intulu and Stevie Styler driving for him. Intulu, sorry. I can't see who's out of those guys. Stevie Styler, no one around. Oh, I can't. We did see a Ferrari. Can't see Stevie Styler anywhere, but Intulu is there in the pits. Then for McLaren, team principal is Talleyrand, and he has Kale and Skyjacker driving for him. Skyjacker's in the pits. Oh look, we've got both Ferraris now going out. Couldn't find a Ferrari, and now we've got them line astern showing off. Beautiful, isn't it? What a sight to behold. Fantastic stuff there. Stevie Styler and Intulu driving for Ferrari. Then Wolsey McLaren is Talleyrand as the team principal, and he's got Kale and Skyjacker driving for him. And I think we saw Skyjacker in the pits. Back there he is, and I haven't seen Kale just yet. Then for Mercedes, Endurance Nut is the team principal, and he has Darren Salmon and Cthulhu driving for him. I saw Cthulhu somewhere. There you go. There's a Merc. Red Bull, we have Alexis and Maximus and Jokus, and their team principal is Jokus, driver principal. And you see Jokus in 7th, just going into the pits for a quick wheel change. And then the last team, Williams, the team principal is Flashman. We have Jim on Wise and Shadow Rider driving for those guys. Let's see if we can find them. Yeah, there we see, donning the 92. It was about 92, wasn't it? That livery, I think, Mansell days in the Canon livery. So they're your teams. I'll get on, as we've had a round already. We've got some position. Oh god, I'm really clicking in my ear roll. I hope that's not too bad for you guys out there. Right, we'll have a watch of Darren Salmon going around. here at Saatchi Village. We don't see it that often, especially in reverse. So it's going to be quite interesting. I'm just trying to find in our Discord the FX stuff, FX chat. That's right, they were just talking about, I think the lobby must have closed down and opened again. So season info, this is what we were looking for. So we'll have a look at the manufacturers table first, as that's the one they get the tokens for every 2 races. So leading manufacturers are Ferrari on 33 points, is that? 33 points for Ferrari. In second place, Aston Martin on 31 points. In third place, we have Alpine on 27. In fourth place, we have McLaren on 22 points. In fifth place, we have Red Bull Racing. Sixth place, we have Mercedes on 13 points. And seventh place, we have Williams on 5 points. Not a great showing for Williams last week. I think they'll be hoping for more. I think there was a few strategies last week tried out, didn't quite work. I'll get on to top. Just give you a quick rundown of the championship so far, only after 1 race. Matt Psycho leading the championship on 25 points. I.R. Graham in second on 23 points, because he got the fastest lap as well as the 22 points for second place. In third place, I'll watch Matt Psycho for a bit. In third place, we've got Alexis Maximus on 20 points. Fourth, Stevie Styler in 18 points. Fifth, in Tulu on 15 points. In sixth, we have Skyjacker on 12 points. In seventh, Kale on 10 points. Eighth, Darren Salmon on 8 points. Ninth, Jam on 6 points. 10th, Cthulhu on 5 points. 11th, Noxie on 4 points. 12th, Shadow Rider on 3 points. 13th, Jimon Wise on 2 points. And Jokus did not finish, so failed to score in 14th. So yes, that's how it is. The last week, the randomator decided that the tyres this week will be super softs and softs. So what's that? Super softs will be prime and softs will be option. Shall I start saying prime and option all the way through this just to become confusing? Let's go to the chats. Endurance Nut says hi here. Toto here. Nice, I like it. Hi all, Toto here. He says Patrick Spence says Otmar is in as well. Or is it Lawrence? I think it's Lawrence now. Otmar, and he in jail somewhere. And Mick Wivery says hello, good evening and welcome. So some people in the house waiting. Jam said 7 minutes to the race. Yes, we are going straight away at 8 o'clock. No qualifying. What they will do is they're going to go the reverse order of the championship. So your grid, I can tell you your grid already, will be Jokers in the Red Bull on pole, Jimon Wise in second in the Williams, Shadow Rider third, also in a Williams, Noxie on fourth in the Alpine, fifth, I'm not good my ear roll. We're going to start asking using Sorry guys, the internet's, I don't know, I've asked everyone in the house to try and cease using whatever they're using. I've turned the iPad off. I think that's helped a little bit. So I've flicked over to my phone, which means I can't look at Discord now, unfortunately, to tell you any information on that. Mika says we keep losing your thingy, keep cutting out. Yeah, that's the internet, I'm afraid, here. Pat says it was Vijay Myler, the previous Force India owner, I believe. Oh, was it him who I'll never know. Mika Wivery says, I think we lost you for good now. No, I muted because it was really crackling in my ear and I thought that sounded awful. Patrick said, I'm also hearing you going in and out. Yeah, I think it's the internet. Seems to be better now. Well, it's getting there. I've turned my iPad off. I'm watching it. I'm watching your comments on my phone, which is 4G. But other than that, there's not much else I can do. Oh, everyone in. Oh, let me sit on my jam for a second. We're just going to have to... Oh, Alan's in the room. Says hi all. Yes, we're just going to have to muster on with what we've got. There's not much else I can do about it. I'm not doing a reset now with only 4 minutes to the race. Although they hang it out there. So it's just reverse order anyway of the championship. So I keep hearing it crackle, so I just stop talking. It's pointless. How weird. I thought it'd be the game as well. In my ear it's all crackling. I could try and change over controller, and the controller's not got much battery, but I don't know if that makes any difference. I'll give that a go. Right, changed over controller. I don't know if that'll make any difference. My red controller was low on battery, so I don't know, it just crackled again, so I don't think it is anything to do with that. Anyway, let's just ignore that and crack on. Stevie Styler then. He's not the fastest. Darren Salmon's done the fastest in the Merc with a 1:27.760. Tula having a go with the soft tyres. Like I said, they're using super softs today and softs. And last week we saw absolutely nail-biting stuff from IR Graham. I don't even know if he's here yet. I haven't seen him in the room. 13, so there's one missing. It might be IR Graham, it would seem. Oh, I'm pressing buttons I shouldn't be pressing. Hang on. Get them on. There you go. No, I can't see IR Graham, but IR Graham left it till the very last lap to go in and put his option tyres on, his medium tyres, so he ran virtually just one lap on the harder compound tyres. So I don't know if anyone will be thinking that this time round, if they're going to try and go super softs all the way and then at the very end try and get away with a quick soft run. Oh, IR Graham's having a few issues, Mika Wivery says. Skyjacker cooking already and not even started yet. Lol. There we can see Kale in the McLaren. Whipping it around. So Darren Sam's done a 27.7. And there we can see Kale's fastest is a 31.3. But this is only practice. IR Graham's joined. Jam's asking if everyone's ready. It is virtually 8 o'clock. I haven't heard it... Oh gosh. I haven't heard it crackle in my ear for a while. So hopefully it was the controller, not the internet, as I first suspected. We'll see. So yeah, the grid. Just be Jokers on the pole. We'll see when it gets there. We'll see it. But we do know the Ferraris are leading the manufacturers. They had a great 4th and 5th, I think. So here we go, the final started. It's obviously set up the grid. Oh, it's exciting stuff. 45 laps around here. Alsace Village coming up. It's going to be a banging. Pat says he's back. Miku says sounds seems okay now. I always have dodgy sound through my controller, to be honest. Yeah, I dropped it twice today as well on the hard floor, so that might not have helped. So there you go, Joker's Gym on my Shadow Rider, Noxie, Cthulhu. I didn't get through all of them. Sorry guys. Get rid of that. Have a look at the lead guy. See the lights coming on. We're getting set to go here at Saatchi Village. It's going to be a tight first corner. Oh no, we've got to exit. Nobody get excited. We're exiting for some reason. I'm not sure what happened. But yes, we're just going to exit. But yeah, as you can see, it's a couple of tight first corners. Oof, tell you what, I don't know if that's lag from the game or if that's just people exiting. Oh no, hi Graham. You're not entered in quick enough. That's alright, I'll take the opportunity. Where am I then? Oh, do I have to exit as well? Are they waiting for me to exit? No, surely. Oh, Darren was in the wrong place, Jam says. If I exit as well then. There you go, it's all changed again. And then we'll head back in. Darren was in the wrong place, there you go. Right, I'll have a quick look on my phone. I can just come back to the YouTube thing and tell you. So, Jokers will be on pole, Jim on Y second, Shadow Rider in third, Noxie in fourth, Cthulhu in fifth, Jam will be in sixth, Darren Salmon in seventh, Kale will be in eighth, Skyjacker ninth, Cthulhu in 10th, Stevie Styler in 11th, Alexis Maximus 12th, IR Graham 13th, and Matt Psycho in 14th. That will be the grid, and a handsome looking grid it is as well with these cars, I must declare. So, I'm just going to phone back there. Darren Salmon back of the grid, wrong position, says Pat. So, Pat on the ball as per usual. Whilst I'm here pressing buttons like a madman. We haven't even had a chance to have a look at this on board. Oh dear. I don't know what's happened there, if that's Jam ending the room or if that's... No, because it was my internet, I'd be out totally. Few technical issues it seems. I'll have a look, maybe I did get kicked out. No, it's the humble guys and I don't know them other people. Don't know, there must be someone I know in that room, I assume. Ooh, loads in the chat. Oh, Pat says it helps to be listening in on the host. Mika Wivery says they are restarting the room. There we go. I love technical issues. It's my favourite part. I get excited. So we'll just leave it there and just keep refreshing. We keep refreshing. Don't think IR Graham could join. What? He had issues a few weeks ago, didn't he? Oh, no. Oh, it cost him a couple of championships. I think he was leading a couple of championships and he was having trouble. Let's have a little update. Nothing on the... Oh, yeah, there it is. There's already 11 people in there. Was that already there? And I was just being really vague. So, join that. A little sip of latte. Thank you very much, if you don't mind. Yum yum. Is that Porsche? I haven't played for ages, so that's the same Porsche from about 3 weeks ago. It was dailies. I should just change the car every now and then, just to I should have it suiting the cars that we're running, shouldn't I? I should get the Red Bull Standard out. I don't even think I own one, to tell you the truth. So I've read you the grid. Don't need to do that again. I've read you the table. Let me just go to Voyeur. Go there, get rid of those big numbers. Get all the other stuff up. Does the other stuff come up? There it goes. Let's have a little play with the F12. There you go. Super. Ooh, just in time for a famous Skyjacker spin. But I think that one was on purpose because we're just killing time here. Everyone's having a go. I don't know, these team principals will be watching, thinking what is going on here. Burning tyres. We have to pay the supplier those. to pay Michelin or Bridgestone, whoever it may be. Stevie Styler's joined the room. We're starting to get together now. Joker's there in his Red Bull. He was trying to have a look at see what's like inside this track this way round. So we've got this long sweeping left-hander. That looks trouble. Quick right, fast. Oh, too fast for Joker's there. Or Joker's too fast for that corner, should I say. Mika Wivery says those tyres cost a bloody fortune. Pat says building anticipation for lap 1. That's what this is. There you go, Joker's. Keeping it only just on the track, or he's trying a bit of off-road. Start at 10 past now. We're going to start at 10 past, so you've got a time to go for a wee if you want. Go for a pee-pee. Put the kettle on quick. I don't know how quick you can make tea. My kettle takes forever to boil, so I wouldn't be able to do it by 10 past. What's that? Another 3 minutes. Quick snoot. I don't know. Oh, that's going to unsettle the cars coming off that last corner. Then this is it, the start straight. Flying up here, so kink to the left, then tight right, very tight, and then tighter to the left. That's going to be a struggle on that first when they go. Sorry. Then we've got a little bit of a bend to the left. It's this tight downhill. It's unstable in the car. So. Whoa, it's tight there, really tight. It's got to kill that speed a bit. As you can see, it's fast as hell. 250 miles an hour. This is where we started with him. And around that lock with the left. Nice long right. Fifth gear we went off last time, he's done it this time. Nice, just lifted enough. Just passing the Ferrari. Heavy on the brakes for that left, down to 4th gear. Coming up, it seems like quite an easy medium right. Accelerating all the way through it, no lifting, loads of cars all the way up. That took him by surprise, I think, a couple of cars going backwards. Two Mercedes, looks like they're doing some synchronised driving. Probably for our benefit, we should find it really. A Mercedes. It was Darren Salmon, but it looks like they've given up on it now. Oh, the other one's still doing it. Cthulhu, is it? Cthulhu and Alexis Maximus. They love a bit of backwards driving. The Spaniards. So the host asking if we're ready. Racer Brown, hello all, have a great race. Skyjacker says, is Graham in lobby? I can't see him. Nika Wivery says, I saw Graham joining, so I hope he's still there. Is he in the cars down there? Let's have a look. No, we're still looking at 13 cars. Looks like Io Graham's having a real struggle. I don't know, is he given up for the evening? So yeah, it doesn't look like he's in the list of cars out there, going up to 13. So that's going to be a hit for Alpine tonight. Their star driver doesn't look like he's going to make the grids. Technical issues. It's not looking great. Oh no. Nothing on Discord as of yet, says Mika. Racer Brown says he's ready. Here we go. Oof. That first corner is going to be absolute chaos. Absolute chaos it's going to be. Look at these cars lined up. No, doesn't look like Io Graham making the grids. We're looking down at the lights. 45 laps of Alsace Village. Lights are all red. We're waiting for them to go. Go, go, go. They're off. We're looking at Jokers. He's making a good start. So one of the Williams, Shadow Rider just following him through. Jokers starting on the soft tyre, and it looks like early doors. Shadow Rider coming through on the super softs. There is Jim One Wise in the second Williams. He's also on the super softs. Brave move by Jokers, going on the softs there. He's been Noxie also on the softs, trying to make a move on Jokers. There's some moving, there's spin, there was an Aston Martin spinning in the background. I don't know, I'm running out of keys. Jam and Stevie Styler maybe. Stevie Styler and Jam coming across each other. I don't know, it's too late for a replay, I'm sorry. So, Shadow Rider leading the way. After an abysmal first round, he's leading from his teammate Jim One Wise, a Williams 1-2, with Red Bull Jokers in third ahead of Mercedes Cthulhu. But Jokers having an off, and now Cthulhu, but Mercedes moving up into third place with Skyjacker in fourth. Skyjacker around the outside. Oh no, Skyjacker's lost the back end, and now their Kale is moved up into fourth. Noxie into fifth for Alpine, with Darren Salmon in sixth in the Mercedes, closely followed by Alexis and Maximus, and Matt Psycho there. He's trying to find a way in the Aston Martin. He's got Intulu just behind him. Skyjacker has joined the race in 10th after his spin. In 11th we saw Jokers having an off. Jam back in 12th on the super softs, with Stevie Styler behind him on the super softs. I think those two are coming together in the early part of the first lap. So Shadow Rider crosses the line, still the leader with nearly 2 seconds to play with Jim One Wise only just less than a second ahead of Cthulhu. This is looking like a tantalising race up the front here, with Kale for the lead McLaren and Noxie in fifth for Alpine. Great stuff here. Alexis and Maximus making his way through now. He's up into sixth ahead of Matt Psycho. Intulu in eighth. Skyjacker, he's got through to ninth. Darren Salmon, I think, has dropped to 10th. Jokers in 11th ahead. Oh, Jam's lost the car again. The setup in that Aston Martin not to Jam's liking, and he'll be hoping that some development after this round will sort out the handling of that car. So Shadow Rider 1.5 seconds ahead of his teammates. Great stuff here for Williams. This will help them in the manufacturer's table. Then Cthulhu in third for Mercedes, chasing them down. This is looking at tantalising here. He's only 6/10 behind Jim One Wise. He's on the soft tyre, where the two Williams have opted for the super softs. Early doors. Like I said, tyre wear is ×8. And fuel is ×3. I.R. Graham, he's in and out. And there, Noxie under pressure from Matt Psycho. Matt Psycho, he's jumped up through the grid. And now he's looking to make a move on Noxie. He's up the inside of the Alpine Aston Martin on Alpine. And he makes it stick up into fourth place for last week's winner. Noxie in fifth place. Intula in sixth. The lone Ferrari up there after Stevie Styler having issues with Jam early doors. Kale down to 7th, so Kale must have had a bit of an issue, and now he's only just ahead of his teammate Skyjacker, who's in 8th. 9th for Alexis and Maximus. He was higher than that. He's dropped back a little bit. The Red Bulls, they need the points. Then Darren Salmon for Mercedes in 11th, with Stevie Styler in 12th, and Jam, he's gone in, he's put some softs on, he's going for a long run, he's changed strategies. He didn't like those super softs, and now he's headed out there on the soft tyre, some nearly 10 seconds behind Stevie Styler, and nearly 40 seconds behind this man, Shadow Rider. Doing everything right so far. 2.6 seconds ahead of his teammate Jim One Wise. Jim One Wise under pressure from Cthulhu. There we see Matt Psycho coming around the corner. Then Noxie closely followed by Intulu. Then we have Kale and Skyjacker in the two McLarens. Oh, I thought I was going to carry that on. There's Alexis and Maximus, some 6 seconds behind them guys. And then Stevie Styler. Stevie Styler in a race here with Jokers. Oh, Jokers there nearly knocking the back of Stevie Styler. And Jokers there ahead of Darren Salmon. Darren Salmon drops a little bit more. Darren Salmon not enjoying this race like last week. He was running guy, but he's struggling in that Red Bull Mercedes. And down in 13th we see Jam changing tactics. Mika Wibri says, I found the SS weren't all that great on this track for some reason. So there you go. That might be why. Jams moved over to the soft tyre. At the moment, Shadow Rider making them work for him. He's 2.5 seconds ahead of his teammate Jim One Wise. Jim One Wise only just ahead of Cthulhu. In fact, we'll get on board with Cthulhu for a short while. Cthulhu on the soft tyre. So he's on the option, shall we say. Whilst the other guy's on the prime ahead of him. Oh, how do they make that corner? It's so much grip. So much grip in this Red Bull until you've got no grip. Only 1.5 seconds behind us is Matt Psycho. Noxie in 5th ahead of the Ferrari of Intulu. And Kale and Skyjacker 7th and 8th respectively in the McLarens. We are definitely getting closer to the back of Jim One Wise here in the Mercedes. Another team that has to make up some ground this championship if they want to get some development points. Gulping my latte down into the last corner then for Cthulhu. Let's get back out of the car. Nothing seems to change between Cthulhu and Jim One Wise. They're quite even on lap times. Jim One Wise did a 31.548 last time round. Cthulhu did a 31.583. But Matt Psycho is the man on the move with a 31.1 last lap. He has got the fastest lap of a 28.975. He's on the soft tyre. It looks like the soft tyre is the actual choice of tyre to be on. And those Williams boys might be wanting to think about getting rid of the super softs and grabbing themselves a set of softs soon. Cthulhu under great pressure. This must be why he's dropping away from Jim One Wise. From 6/10 down to 1.2 seconds behind Jim One Wise, but he's under absolutely immense pressure here from our boy Matt Psycho, the winner from last week. He's got a feel for these cars. He likes them. Oh, they sound absolutely gorgeous to me. And he's made the move. Absolute cracking stuff from Matt Psycho. But Cthulhu looking like he wants to come back in. They're side by side going midway through the corner. Cthulhu, has he made it stick? He has. He certainly has. Great move, but there Matt Psycho back up the inside of Cthulhu. And Cthulhu down into 4th. Is there more in there? Can Cthulhu come back? Cthulhu's tyres are really torn apart on those soft tyres. His super soft run is going to be a struggle. These cars, they could really do with that rubbery grip. And it's Matt Psycho that goes in. It's Matt Psycho that goes in, and Cthulhu stays out on those haggard tyres. Jim One Wise and Shadow Rider, they're still out there. That's really interesting. So Intulu up into 4th place on his super softs. Kale now into 5th. Matt Psycho coming out. He just did a quick change. Oh, Noxie going sideways behind, but he's maintained. He's in 7th ahead of Skyjacker. So it looks like Kale somehow got ahead of Noxie out of view. And there we can see the grip of Matt Psycho really paying dividends. He just drives straight up the inside of Kale there. Great stuff. Matt Psycho on his moves again. He's got brand new tyres and he's just absolutely going for it. We're on lap 6 of 45. Still a long way to go yet. Noxie only 1.5 seconds behind Kale. He's only a second ahead of Skyjacker. Skyjacker's tyres looking quite gnarled up. And Noxie, he's looking after his softs quite well. So Alexis Maximus, he's 5.5 seconds. He's had a pit stop. When did he pit? He pitted on lap 4. Must have got rid of his super softs. And now he's got the softs on, and he's only 4.4 seconds behind Skyjacker. It's a great place to be. Noxie in 9th in the Alpine. He's got a bit of damage. Oh, he must have only just done that because he was up there earlier when we were looking. Oh, Jim and the 2 Williams guys are in the pits. Cthulhu also coming in the pits. That Shadow Rider back out ahead of Matt Psycho by some 4 seconds, 3.5 seconds. Matt Psycho beating 2nd place out though. Jim One Wise. Jim One Wise out into 3rd. 4th for Kale. Kale's had a big one though. Kale's had a massive one. Kale's had a huge one. He's still going though. Intulu there in 5th. Intulu looks like he's recently pitted. So Kale not pitting, but losing the spot from a big crash. There's Cthulhu. Cthulhu also pitting. And now he's looking to make a move upside Kale. Kale needs to get those tyres off. He's carrying a bit of damage at the moment. Alexis Maximus up to 7th with his early pit stop. And there's Skyjacker in 8th. He's also had a pit stop. He's put the super soft tyres on. Noxie in 9th. had a pit stop. He's on an outlap now. He's put the super softs on. Stevie Styler out there. He's making his way slowly through after his early incursion with Jam. And Stevie Styler in 10th with Jam only a second behind in the Aston Martin. Darren Salmon down to 12. And Jokus in 13th at the moment. He needs to get rid of those tyres as well. Struggling with grip there in the Red Bull. So Shadow Rider. Oof. It's going to be a tight race. An absolute tight race. Both of them exactly the same fuel. Shadow Rider's tyres a little bit newer, but it seems Matt Psycho in the Aston Martin is the man on the move. He's just gone fastest of all with the 28.931. Shadow Rider 2.5 seconds ahead. Mika Wivery, gutted you couldn't make it. Oh, Graham, sorry. I see some things going on here. So Alan says go Matt. Graham Cobb says, as I'm now not in it, strategy is super soft stints on 5 laps. Mika Wivery says gutted you couldn't make it. Oh, I am as well, man. That's awful. So Shadow Rider, he's getting purples though, so he might do enough to stay ahead of Matt Psycho, but Matt Psycho has got the grip between his teeth and he is pushing. They're now some 3.3 seconds ahead of third place Jim Wise, who is 2.7 seconds off in Tulu, who's pitted. He's got the super softs on and he's ahead of Cthulhu. Cthulhu back into 5th for Mercedes with Alexis Maximus coming through up into 6th place for Red Bull with an early pit stop. It seems to have paid dividends for him, but he will have to come in before everyone else. Skyjacker now up into 7th place. He's made a pit stop and he is on his way, only 2 seconds behind Alexis Maximus. He's getting purples. They all should be getting purples as their fuel drops. Noxie in 8th place with Kale down to 9th after his pit stop. And we saw a small off. Stevie Styler in 10th, only 1.7 seconds behind the South African, and he will be pushing hard for supremacy in that Ferrari team. He came only just ahead of Intulu in round 1, but now Intulu sitting in 4th is looking like the favoured Ferrari driver. In 11th, Darren Salmon. He's only 3 seconds ahead of Jam. Jam we saw coming together with Stevie Styler early doors in this race. And it's kind of ruined his strategy. He came in early, changed to softs. Looks like he's been in again and changed to... yeah, it was that last lap, wasn't it? I think he came in and just changed over to softs again. So Shadow Rider 7 tenths ahead of Matt Psycho. Matt Psycho pulling out a 27.885 in the Aston Martin. And he is hunting down Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider must be feeling quite nervous. A 29.235 on his last round. So some merely 2 seconds off the pace of Matt Psycho. They're both on super softs. They've both got similar fuel loads. Jim Wise 5.2 seconds behind these guys now, and Intulu only 2.1 seconds behind Jim Wise. The Williams are looking threatened at this point in the race. Sat on board with Matt Psycho. Started from last place. Now he's right behind the leader of Shadow Rider. Fuming, my pace was so good too. Yeah, we need you here to keep Matt Psycho in check. IR Graham. Yeah, look at the sparks flying off of the Williams ahead. And now Matt Psycho, he's virtually there. He's going to pick his sides. He's having a look. There we go. Oh, he's making his move, but whoa, there's Shadow Rider. Just managing to stay in front of Matt Psycho. Matt Psycho looks like he really had to get out of it there. And he's lost a bit of time to Shadow Rider. Great stuff. Come on, Shadow Rider. Stick it in there. Jim on Wise only 3 seconds behind Matt Psycho, and now 1.5 seconds ahead of Intulu. Intulu doing his fastest lap of the race with a 28.869. Jim on Wise pace at the moment at 29.4. So Intulu slightly faster. Alexis Maximus up to 5th now, 7.5 seconds off of Intulu, but 2.2 seconds ahead of Skyjacker. Skyjacker doing lovely consistent 29s at the moment, whereas Alexis Maximus, he did a 29.5. But his tyres are absolutely munched, where Skyjackers are still early in their life. Cthulhu down to 7th place, and Matt Psycho has come into the pits. Early pit stops for Matt Psycho, and Shadow Rider staying out there. Jim on Wise taking back that 2nd place, and Intula up into 3rd. Matt Psycho coming back out onto the track in ahead of 5th place Alexis and Maximus, so only 4 seconds behind Intulu. Interesting strategy this from Matt Psycho. Very short stints, but IR Graham did say the Super Softs last around about 5 laps, and that seems to be what Matt Psycho is doing at the moment. Shadow Rider then 3 seconds ahead of his teammate Jim Wise. Intulu in 3rd place. And Matt Psycho just recently into the pits and down to 4th. Alexis Maximus 5.5 seconds behind Matt Psycho, with Skyjacker in 6th, getting closer to Alexis Maximus. He was 2.2 seconds behind him, now he's only just over 1 second behind him, but his tyres are starting to look juicy as well as Alexis Maximus's. Cthulhu 11 seconds behind Skyjacker and only 4 seconds ahead of Noxie in 8th. Alpine only driver today. In 9th, Stevie Styler, he's got ahead of Kale. Kale having a great race early on until he hit the wall, and then it seems to have fallen apart for him. He's got to get his head back together. In 11th, Jam, we saw having problems early doors with Stevie Styler. Darren in 12th, and Joker's there in 13th. Joker's really struggling with this car at the moment. Shadow Rider, we've got some pit stops. Alexis in the Red Bull has come in. That means Skyjacker moving up into 5th place. Intulu also having a pit stop, letting Matt Psycho go back up into 3rd place. He's only 8/10ths behind Jim Wise, and Jim Wise will be wanting a pit stop soon himself. Both of the two Williams low on fuel. A quarter of a tank for Matt Psycho. He's flying now. Absolutely. Over 10 laps, you will gain about 5 or 6 seconds doing 5-lap stints, says IR Graham. So there we see Matt Psycho all over the back of the Williams of Jim Wise. Jim Wise, oh, I've already left the door open there, but not quite. But there we see Matt Psycho inviting himself in, putting his foot in the door and saying, but there, can Jim Wise come back on the other side this time? He has. Well done, Jim Wise. Fantastic stuff. A great dice between these corners here, between Jim Wise and Matt Psycho. Fantastic racing, and this all helps Shadow Rider. 5.5 seconds to Jim Wise, being the great teammate, not letting Matt Psycho get through. It's probably, and there you go, under braking. Matt Psycho just flew into the last corner, and now Shadow Rider has popped into the pits as well as Jim Wise. So Matt Psycho takes the lead. It's working for him. Can Intulu beat the two Williamses out? It looks like he has. And there you see, but Shadow Rider has put half a tank of fuel in. Jim Wise back out in 4th with half a tank of fuel. Intulu, he's got just over a quarter of a tank of fuel, and Matt Psycho a quarter of a tank of fuel also. Interesting stuff then. The Williams boys both putting the Super Softs on. Alexis Maximus back up into 5th. We saw Skyjacker pit in, putting Super Softs on, and about half a tank of fuel in. Noxie up into 7th, but his fuel is low and his tyres are starting to look used. Kale in 8th also. Quarter of a tank of fuel, but his tyres not too bad. Jam is in 9th. Stevie Styler down to 10th. That's who we saw pit in. He's put the softs on, nearly half a tank of fuel, and he's back out there chasing down Jam, some 4 seconds behind him. Darren Salmon in 11th. He's recently pitted. Cthulhu behind his teammate. Katula surprising there, but Katula, the two Mercedes, not having a great time around here at Alsace, and here comes Joker's the second Red Bull into the pit. So Matt Psycho 7.5 seconds ahead of Intulu. Mika Wivers said, go on Noxie, just race your own race, mate. He's doing fine, he's in 7th. He needs to pit though, and Kale is only 2.2 seconds behind him, with Jam only half a second behind him. And Stevie Styler, Jam needs to pit also though, his fuel is flashing. So Noxie and Jam in this lap, we reckon. Intulu having a great race there, up into second spot. It's quite fresh tyres, quarter of a tank of fuel. He's 3.5 seconds ahead of Shadow Rider. There's Noxie. Noxie's gone in. We were expecting Jam as well. Jam also in. Stevie Styler moving up into 8th place. And Noxie there, he's topping up with fuel, getting some new tyres. Jam also, it's a battle of the pit stops. Jam moving, but Noxie moving before Jam. So Noxie maintains 9th ahead of Jam, only just though. They've put in similar amounts of fuel. Noxie putting a little bit more fuel. Stevie Styler moving up to 8th through those pit stops. Kale moving up to 7th behind his teammate Skyjacker, who is in 6th place. Alexis Maximus in 5th. Good points for Red Bull today, if he can maintain that. Matt Psycho in the Aston Martin. Is he going to get his second win? He's just done a 27.7. So he has got some pace. Intulu's best lap, a 28.8. In second spot, 8.5 seconds behind Matt Psycho, but only 2.8 seconds ahead of Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider's best was a 29.2. None of them have got the pace that Matt Psycho has today. So Shadow Rider crossing the line at 28.9. Jim One Wise, 29.4 is his fastest so far today. He's just about to cross the line. 30.4, so it's only Jim One Wise only 2 seconds ahead of Alexis Maximus. Alexis Maximus keeping it in the early 28s. Jim One Wise doing 30s at the moment. So Jim One Wise, he might find himself being harassed by a Red Bull very soon. Whoo-wee, what a race. So Matt Psycho absolutely storming, but he's got out of fuel now. He needs to pit soon. And Intulu looks like he can carry on for a couple of laps yet, so he might inherit the lead of this race before his pit stop. Shadow Rider only 3.3 seconds behind Intulu. Jim One Wise is dropping back a little bit towards Alexis and Maximus. There is Skyjacker, he's also in the 28s, but not quite as fast as the Red Bull in front of him, and he's got 10 seconds lead on his teammate Kale, who's in 7th. Kale did a 30.178 that last time round. He will have to pit though, and he's only 1.5 seconds. There we say Matt Psycho has come in with Intulu coming around that last corner. He might be too much, I don't know. Fueling up does take a little bit of time. There's Intulu, he's gone past the pit lane. So Intulu taking over the lead of this race. He's still got 2 or 3 laps of fuel left on board. Shadow Rider goes ahead of Matt Psycho, but only just. Matt Psycho had a great stint there. He's put on some brand new super soft tyres and just under half a tank of fuel. And there is Shadow Rider with just over a quarter of a tank of fuel. This is tantalising racing here from these guys. Absolutely beautiful stuff. So Intulu leading the race by 3.5 seconds. We see Kale pitted. That's Stevie Styler moving up into 7th place now. Jim One Wise down into 6th. What? He didn't pit. He had a 1:43.4 on his last lap. That was not good. So Jim One Wise, we assume, has made a mistake. Skyjacker moving up into 5th. 7 seconds behind Alexis Maximus. Alexis Maximus is absolutely flying out there at the moment. His tyres starting to look a little bit old. And there we see Matt Psycho all over the back of Shadow Rider. He's raced 1 Williams today, Jim One Wise, and now he's giving another one a go. They're side by side going around the corner. He's trying to invite himself in, but Shadow Rider says, no, you are not welcome. And go away. This is my race all the time. Them two are racing. It gives Intulu the opportunity to pull further and further ahead. There he goes again. Matt Psycho trying it down into the last corner. But Shadow Rider late on the brakes, as late as Matt Psycho, but here they go, Matt Psycho. I thought he might have got squeezed into the barrier. I know it's not Shadow Rider's style, but sometimes the racing line is the racing line. And Shadow Rider still maintaining that second spot ahead of Matt Psycho. Matt Psycho trying everything he can to get past. He's losing time on Intulu. At this point, he's going for the outside, but Shadow Rider defending like no one else's business out there at the moment. So Matt Psycho regrouping and trying again. Will he go for the inside line round here? He's gone out wide, he's swung out wide to try and bring it up the inside, but Shadow Rider knows he's defensive, and there you go. Is that the move? No, not quite. Whoa, I thought that was the move there, move of the race, but Shadow Rider has got the measure of Matt Psycho in this Red Bull, but there it goes. It looks like Matt Psycho getting a better drive out of that corner. They're side by side, but Shadow Rider still got the inside line. Matt Psycho trying to do it around the outside on those newer tyres. He's got the inside now. This has got to be it, surely. Is this Matt Psycho's move? He has. He's gained the corner. And Shadow Rider now sitting in third place. Oh, wow, heart palpitations during that. That's amazing racing from Matt Psycho and Shadow Rider. And Tulum, in the meantime, has come into the pits to change those tyres. And Matt Psycho, will he take the lead? Shadow Rider also in to change tyres. Alexis Maximus also coming in. So Skyjacker there. It'd be wise to go in, I imagine. He's not quite in the last corner yet. They're having long pit stops. Matt Psycho managing to pull away. Shadow Rider beating Intulu out of the pits. There you go, Shadow Rider in, changing super softs, topped up with fuel, and he's back out ahead of the Ferrari driver. Alan in the chat says, nice one, Matt, and it was nice one. It was some beautiful driving. Now on board with Intulo, chasing down Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider, he's getting it all today. He's having to earn his money for Williams. He really is, Flashman. I'll have to slip him a little bonus for the work he's had to put in. He's raced everyone virtually up at the sharp end, and we're not having a good look around the rest of the grid with all this racing going on with Shadow Rider. Oh, I thought Intulu put a wheel out there on the dirt, but it looks like Shadow Rider managing just to stay ahead of Intulu for now. Wow. So Matt Psycho 14.3 seconds ahead of these guys. He's a quarter of a tank of fuel. His tyres still look quite fresh. Half a tank of fuel for Shadow Rider, brand new tyres. And there Intulu in third. He's gone for 3/4 of a tank of fuel on the super softs. So that must be why he's not all over the back of Shadow Rider at the moment. His car's a bit weighty. Skyjacker up to fourth, but he will have to pit, and he's only 9/10 ahead of the Red Bull of Alexis Maximus right now. So Skyjacker, we assume, into the pits this lap. It's got to be. There he goes. He's gone in. Jim Wise in the Williams. He's some way back. He might not be able to get past Skyjacker. Skyjacker then topping up with fuel. He's changed the tyres. Jim Wise coming around the last corner, and it's saying him. Skyjacker still not moving. Jim Wise, he's coming up to the pit exit, and Skyjacker out in sixth ahead of Stevie Styler, but only by 2 seconds. Stevie Styler looks like he's got quite fresh tyres on. He's not that long since pitted, so Skyjacker might be under some pressure from the Ferrari driver pretty soon. Whoa! Come flying across that track, but I think that is the racing line. Skyjacker not that far behind Jim Wise. Stevie Styler will be catching them up if they start racing. Kale some 2.5 seconds behind Stevie Styler in the McLaren in 8th place. Noxie in 9th. In the Alpine, he's fastest as a 31.024. He did on lap 16. We're on lap 19 now. Jam in 10th. Not making much impression. He needs some fuel, and he's only 2.5 seconds ahead of Darren Salmon, who looks like he can stay out for a couple more laps. 14 seconds ahead of his teammate is Darren Salmon. Katula down in 12. Looks like Katula not quite had enough practice in these cars yet. He's still getting used to the handling of them. They can be quite skittish. St. Jocus there in 13th place. So Matt Psycho 16.5 seconds now ahead of Shadow Rider. He's done a 27.4 on lap 18 and 27.8 on lap 19. Shadow Rider in the 29.5. But that might have been his out lap. No, it wasn't his out lap. So Shadow Rider struggling to keep on pace with Matt Psycho today, and he's only 2 seconds ahead of Intulu, who we think might be going longer than Shadow Rider. He's definitely got a lot more fuel than Shadow Rider. He's got 5.5 seconds until Alexis Maximus. 13 seconds ahead of Jim One Wise, who's only 2.5 seconds ahead of the McLaren of Skyjacker. But if these all stay the same, these are great points for Williams in the championship. Matt Psycho has come in. Shadow Rider some 17 seconds behind. I don't think he's going to be able to get around and ahead of Matt Psycho at this point. So Matt Psycho, he's in the last corner though. Matt Psycho's out. No, Matt Psycho is out. He's onto the track. He's kept that lead. So Shadow Rider in second place, some 5 seconds behind Matt Psycho, with Intulu only a second behind. Intulu doing a 29.8 on his last lap. Shadow Rider doing a 30.0. So Intulu very, very slightly, only tenths faster at this point in the race than Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider, they've got the same sort of tyre wear on those cars. Alexis Maximus, he's in the 28.9 on his last lap. So Alexis Maximus carrying a lot of speed there. He might catch these boys up if they get themselves into a tangle, into a race. That'll play into Alexis Maximus's hands, and he'll get himself another podium. So in 5th, Jim One Wise. He's under pressure from Skyjacker. Let's sit on board with Skyjacker for a couple of corners whilst chasing Jim One Wise down. Jim One Wise, he's had to defend today from a few of the big names, and he can hold his head up. He's done absolutely great racing with Matt Psycho. And even in the rear view mirror you can see Stevie Styler only 1.5 seconds behind this battle. So Stevie Styler is going to be catching these guys up pretty soon if they start racing each other. Skyjacker had to get heavy on the brakes there, I think, to avoid Jim One Wise. He's lost a bit of ground to him. He's only a second ahead of Stevie Styler now. We're going to be looking at a three-way battle here soon for 5th, 6th and 7th. As you can see there, Skyjacker in 6th, just behind the Williams of Jim One Wise. And there you can see Stevie Styler only 6 tenths behind Skyjacker. So sat on board with Stevie Styler. He's some 13 seconds ahead of Kale. See Darren Salmon going into the pits. Jam moving up to 9th. I think, yeah, it looks like Jam's in 9th now. But we're sat on board with Stevie Styler. And he's had to do some battling. Looks like him and Jam came together early on in the race. Oh, and it looks like Stevie Styler's going to have to pit at the end of this lap. So, but we're getting really close to the back end of Skyjacker. Ooh, tantalising. Oh, very tantalising between these guys. This is helping Jim One Wise. Jim One Wise now pulled a second out on Skyjacker. Shadow Rider has popped into the pit, so Intulu takes up that second spot. Intulu moves into second, 12 seconds behind Matt Psycho. Matt Psycho in a world of his own. He's just gone faster again with a 26.806. Great pace from Matt Psycho at the moment. Intulu there in second with Alexis Maximus in 3rd place. Shadow Rider in 4th after his pit stop. So Alexis Maximus, now granted he will be coming into the pits anytime soon. He's having himself a great race there. Skyjacker up to 5th place. Jim One Wise is in 6th. with Stevie Styler just come out the pits in 7th. So Skyjacker, Jim One Wise also pitted. So Skyjacker 10 seconds ahead of Jim One Wise, who's 1.5 seconds ahead of Stevie Styler. If Skyjacker stays out too long, he might get jumped by Stevie Styler. He was catching him up. He's in 7th, only 3.1 seconds ahead of the second McLaren there in 8th place. 9th place for Aston Martin there, Jam. Some 9.5 seconds ahead of the Mercedes of Darren Salmon. Jam just doing his fastest lap of the race at 28.953. He's on the soft tyres now. It looks like he's enjoying those tyres a lot more than he did with the super softs. Darren Salmon in 10th on the super softs, doing all he can now to try and catch up. Oh, Alexis Maximus coming into the pits. Intulu must have made a mistake because he's down into 3rd place behind Alexis Maximus. We'll have to check that out. Matt Psycho then leading the way by 25 seconds as Shadow Rider up into 2nd. No, Intula is out ahead of Alexis Maximus. Must have just been a weird blip while they came into the pits, I'm not sure. But Intulu in 3rd for Ferrari, with Alexis Maximus in 4th. Skyjacker in 5th, but we think he's going to have to pit soon with those tyres. Jim One Wise in 6th, just ahead of Stevie Styler, but only just 3/10 in it. Stevie Styler is chasing the Williams driver down now, looking for a way past. Crazy stuff. Jam up into 8th ahead of Kale. We think Kale just pitted, giving Jam that 8th spot. This is fantastic stuff. Looks like, whoa, I thought he'd gone out onto the grass there, Stevie Styler, but no, just taking a bit of a different line to Jim One Wise. I think I haven't really heard anything in the chat, but I assume, like the juniors, they lose a bit of downforce when they're following each other closely. But there you go, Jim One Wise 8/10 ahead of Stevie Styler. What a crazy race. We are 24 laps into this 45 lap race, and it is absolutely cray-cray. So Matt Psycho leading the way by 26 seconds. He's got an amazing pace of doing early 28s. His fuel's flashing though, his fuel is flashing. Shadow Rider recently pitted, 1/4 tank of fuel. He's only 4 seconds ahead of Intulu. Intulu though, only 2 seconds ahead of Alexis Maximus. And Skyjacker, he does pit, he needs to pit though. But he's 7 seconds ahead of Jim. Jim's still ahead of Stevie Styler. Stevie Styler 3/10 behind Jim One Wise. Jim One Wise will not be moved. He says no, make me. Stevie Styler, I think, losing a bit of downforce, trying to follow Jim One Wise. Keeps going wide in those corners, but he's got him lined up nicely now as we're coming up to the long left-hander. Stevie Styler looked like he took it right up behind Jim One Wise then. In the pits, Matt Psycho, the leader, in the pits. He's in the pits, but Shadow Rider, he's some 20-odd seconds behind. All it can do is bring them closer together. I don't think Shadow Rider will overtake him. He's not even in the final corner yet. And there is Matt Psycho, suited and booted and ready to rock and roll. He's back out again. Still 25 seconds ahead of Shadow Rider. 27 seconds, no, 13, there you go. It's just changed as he crosses the line. So Alexis Maximus 5.6 seconds behind Shadow Rider. Oh, Intulu's down into 4th spot. Did a 33 on his last lap. So it looks like Intulu made a small mistake, and there is his teammate in 5th place, 11 seconds behind him. But again, the Ferraris getting great points together. Jim One Wise in 6th, so Stevie Styler managed to get ahead of Jim One Wise. I apologise, we missed it. Skyjacker just coming out the pits now in 7th. Half a tank of fuel, the super softs on. Jam in the pits. Will he get overtaken by Kale? It looks like it. Kale just coming past now to take back that 8th spot. And Noxie is 10th. He doesn't quite get ahead of Jam in 9th. Jam with his super softs on, half a tank of fuel, and he's on his way. So Noxie there quarter of a tank of fuel. He's some 13 seconds ahead of the Mercedes boys. Cthulhu 21 seconds behind his teammate. He's just pitted. And Joker's there in 13th, low on fuel, needs to crack on. So Matt Psycho leading the way, 15 seconds ahead of the Williams of Shadow Rider. Alexis Maximus some 5.5 seconds behind them. Cthulhu dropping down to 4th. He was on the podium, but Alexis Maximus somehow getting ahead of him. Jim Wise is attacking Stevie Styler. Did Stevie Styler go in the pits? No, Stevie Styler low on fuel. But Jim Wise, I thought he had a bit of time on him. But Jim Wise coming out in, but also Jim Wise needing a pit stop. These two are going to pit at the same time, for sure. No, oh, Stevie Styler's gone past, and so has Jim Wise. They're going around again on the low fuel. They don't care. Skyjacker in 7th. He's some 9.2 seconds behind these guys. He might be able to get ahead of them. So Stevie Styler in 5th place. But only half a second ahead of Jim Wise. Both of them need a pit stop pretty soon. Whoa, Jim going in there quite late on the brakes. But Stevie Styler maintaining that place. But that helps Skyjacker. That helps Skyjacker a lot. The more they slow each other down, Skyjacker will be saying, yes please. Thank you. So Cthulhu in 4th place. Some 9 seconds behind Shadow Rider. Oh, Shadow Rider's had a big one. I don't know what's happened, but it looks like Shadow Rider has made a mistake somewhere. He's in 2nd. Oh, he's just gone wide and spun it around and hit the wall. Oh, poor Shadow Rider. That puts Alexis Maximus up into 2nd spot. This is great for Red Bull. Red Bull will be smiling from ear to ear, up into 2nd spot now. Shadow Rider carrying a bit of damage, needs a pit, he's going in. He's limping into the pits, and there goes Cthulhu back up into 3rd place. Poor Williams, it's all going wrong for him. Stevie Styler, he also needs a pit. He's got no fuel in that car whatsoever. Jim Wise still got a bit of fuel. He's dropped back from Stevie Styler, and there goes Stevie Styler into the pits with Jim Wise. Shadow Rider been in the pits and he's back out again. Skyjacker is the man we want to watch. Skyjacker in 5th place. He's coming across. He looks like he's made it. He's got it. He's got his 5th place and Stevie Styler up into 6th with Jim Wise in 7th. Kale in 8th place there behind Jim Wise and just ahead of Jam, but only 1.5 seconds ahead of Jam. Noxie's coming into the pits, but he's got quite a distance between him and Darren Salmon, so I think he'll be back out before the Mercedes boys catch him up. Darren Salmon only 2.5 seconds ahead of Cthulhu, and Joker's there in 13th on his out lap. Woo-wee! So Matt Psycho 25 seconds ahead of the pack. He's having a great race. Looks like he's just lapping Noxie there. We are 29 laps into this 45 lap race, not 45 minutes, because I looked down and it was 42 minutes, just about to change to 43. But this is absolutely extreme driving from Matt Psycho there. Alexis Maximus, all he's done is kept his head down, cracked on, and it's all come his way. Cthulhu up into 3rd. Cthulhu could have been in 2nd. I don't know what he did to put him behind the Red Bull, but he must be kicking himself right now. Shadow Rider, just one small mistake all afternoon. He's driven impeccably all the way through. Didn't quite have the pace of Matt Psycho, but he was looking good for a 2nd spot there for Williams, except for a slight small mistake, and it's not over yet. We've still got a good 16 laps to go in this race. 3 pit stops in that, if you count it. 5 laps a stint. Skyjacker in 5th. They're 11.5 seconds behind Shadow Rider, 2.5 seconds ahead of Stevie Styler. Stevie Styler has had a race and a half. It's going to be tricky to call the man of the race today. Jim Wise in 7th place. It's respectable. Jam and Kale look like they were swapping places. Oh, Kale, another small mistake. Small mistake from Kale there has given Jam in the Aston Martin the 8th place. So Jam, he's climbing through the field also today with his early bump with Stevie Styler, putting them both at the back. Kale 9th, Noxie in 10th, with Darren Salmon in 11th, Catula at 12th. Someone's pitting. Intula is pitting. Can Shadow Rider catch him up? Did he lose too much time? He's on the start straight. It's a great look for him. He might get ahead of Intulu at this point, and he does. Shadow Rider up into 3rd place, but I think he's just a pit stop behind Alexis Maximus, but Alexis Maximus will be pitting pretty soon. Looks like Intulu has put the soft tyres on now, and wow, he has really put a lot of fuel in that car. But I suppose it all pays, and now his teammate can see him. Stevie Styler, quarter of a tank of fuel, can see his teammate just ahead of him. Last lap, Stevie Styler did a 28.277. He's Skyjacker was. Oh yeah, Skyjacker didn't beat him out of the pits, did he? I think. Or did Skyjacker have an issue on that last lap? Did a 39.6 on his last lap. Matt Psycho into the pits, but 30-second lead. He can have a cup of tea and a bourbon. Alexis Maximus, though, he'll be pitting at the end of this lap, and it'll be touch and go if Alexis Maximus can get back out ahead of Shadow Rider. Intulu some 12 seconds behind Shadow Rider at the moment. Stevie Styler, he's only half a second behind his teammates. Wow, what a turnaround. There goes Alexis Maximus, is into the pits, so Shadow Rider coming into the last corner now. Alexis Maximus filling up with fuel. Here comes Shadow Rider down the start straight. Alexis Maximus, he hasn't started moving yet, so Shadow Rider up into 2nd spot. The spin didn't cost him too much after all. Right, the battery's just died on my phone, so if you comment, I'm sorry, I don't know what you've said. I could try and risk putting the iPad back on after the internet issues that were turned out to be my controller in the end. So let's have a look. A little sip of Red Bull, because this has been non-stop all the way. It's absolutely amazing stuff. I have loved this race so far. There I am on there. So we'll see if this starts tripping out the internet. No, it looks to be okay so far. So Matt Psycho leading the way on lap 31 of this 45 lap race here at Alsace Village Reverse. Shadow Rider, early leader, off the line, but Matt Psycho's pace has just been a little bit too much for Shadow Rider today. His best lap at 28.445, where Matt Psycho's been able to do a 26.8. That's unbelievable lap times. Then in a 3rd, Alexis Maximus. What a race he's had from virtually the back of the grid. Well, with Matt Psycho, I guess. He's come through. He's slowly just kept that nice rhythm going. Nice, keeping it in the 28s mostly, and let other people fall off the road and make mistakes, and he's come through. There we see Intulu only 9.6 seconds behind Alexis Maximus. He really tops up with fuel. He's only a second ahead of his teammate. That was half a second not that long ago. So a 29.8 from Stevie Styler last time round, a 29.5. I think Stevie Styler, the faster of the two Ferraris, but Stevie Styler needs a pit stop. He's only 6 seconds ahead, but so does Jim Wise. Skyjacker, oh, his tyres are absolutely mullered. He would like a pit stop also, not for fuel. Well, he'll probably top up with fuel while he's there. Jam in 8th, he's looking good, but he's 12 seconds behind the boys ahead of him. So I don't know if he can progress any further than 8th in this race, but still, we've got a few laps to go to find out. 9th place for Kale in the McLaren. He's just pitted recently, put some super softs on. He's got a big hill to climb to catch Jam up. Noxie in 10th, running his race. Looks like someone's coming across him to lap him. Who does that look like? That looks like Matt Psycho, does it? Matt Psycho? It is. Matt Psycho. Shadow Rider into the pits. How does this work for Alexis? Alexis already on the start straight. That's great for Alexis Maximus then. Up into 2nd spot. And where is Ntulu? He's still ahead of his teammate, but his teammate we saw needed fuel also. So Stevie Styler going in, Jim on Wise, they'll have to also go in, we believe. And there is Skyjacker. Skyjacker also, well, for his tyres' sake, I would think he is going to go into the pits as well. So Jam, like I said, 12 seconds, it's a bit too much, I think, to make up. But he is into the final corner. But they're out now. Matt Psycho in first, Alexis in second, Shadow Rider third, Ntulu out into fourth, Stevie Styler out in fifth, Jim on Wise out in sixth. Oh, it looks like Jam might have beat Skyjacker out the pits. So Skyjacker down into eighth place, only 2.5 seconds behind Jam. He's got a bit more fuel than Jam and fresher tyres. But that's great manoeuvring from Jam to get ahead of the McLaren. So the Aston Martin boys should be quite happy with that. The two McLarens down in 8th and 9th. The old Renault. Aspire? Not Aspire. What am I thinking? Alpine. The Alpine in 10th today. 11th for Mercedes. 12th for Mercedes. And Red Bull in 13th. But there is the other Aston Martin. So great racing. 1st and 7th. It helps with the points. Helps with the development tokens, which is after this race the team principals get to play and get to decide what they're going to use, what they're going to hold back for later in the season. They can't hold more than 6 tokens. So after this first 2 races, I think the first manufacturer gets 4 tokens. The next 2 get 3 tokens. I think the 2 after that get 2 tokens, and the last one gets 1 token. Which after this race, Williams scoring well, it might change things a little bit. Red Bull also, good points. Aston Martin are going to get great points out of this. They weren't too sloppy in that table. So Shadow Rider there in third, 10 seconds behind Alexis and Maximus. Alexis Maximus on the soft tyres, quarter of a tank of fuel, did a 28.8 on his last time around. Shadow Rider on the super softs, just over a quarter of a tank of fuel, did a 29.5 the last time around. It's absolutely nip and tuck between Alexis Maximus and Shadow Rider. Ntulu, the lead Ferrari, in fourth. Stevie Styler came out some 10 seconds behind Ntulu. Ntulu's tyres starting to look warm, but his fuel, he did top up in his last pit stop. He's carrying more fuel than the 2 cars ahead of him, so it might be interesting what he's going to manage to do. We're just coming up to a lap 30, well, we're just coming to the end of lap 34. The leader is probably already on 35. There he goes. So this is an interesting race. So Jim on Wise in 6th, 7.6 seconds behind Stevie Styler. Jam 4 seconds ahead of Skyjacker. Skyjacker lost that position in the pit stops. He did a 1:30.0 for his out lap. Jam's lap time 28.5. Skyjacker coming across the line with a 29.8, is it? So he's a little bit slower. He's about just over a second slower than Jam at this point in the race. Matt Psycho into the pits, Kel in 9th. So Matt Psycho into the pits, but he's 37 seconds ahead of the Red Bull of Alexis Maximus. Shadow Rider is just knocking those out times. He did a 28.7 his last time around. Alexis Maximus a 29.8. So Alexis Maximus losing a bit of time. Shadow Rider at this point in the race. Ntulu did a 31.7. He did fill his car up, and those tyres are starting to look old. And now Stevie Styler only 7 seconds. I'm sure he was 11 seconds. He did a 27.6 his last time around. So he is a lot faster than his teammate at this point in the race. This is intriguing, leading up to the last 10 laps of this race. Jim one Wise, nearly 10 seconds behind Stevie Styler, 4.8 seconds ahead of Jam. Jam is flying at the moment, 28.5 we saw him do, 29.8 was Skyjackers, and Jim did a 29.1. So at this point, Jam faster than the guys around him, but he's got to pit. He has to pit at the end of this lap, and it looks like Skyjacker will easily take that place back off him. Noxie in 10th. 11th for Darren Salmon. Cthulhu into the pits to top up with fuel, but he's got a bit of space between Jokers, so should come back out. Jam's gone into the pits. Jam's gone into the pits. We said he was going to have to, and Skyjacker taking that 7th place. Jam there, 8th, but Kale just slips by in 8th. So Kale just ahead of Jam. Jam going on to the Super Softs, and just under half a tank of fuel, only a second behind. Noxie popping into the pits. Cthulhu still in the pits. And it looks like maybe he's parked up, or he's really topping that car up. So Darren Salmon then. No, Cthulhu has gone out. I don't know if they'll class him. So Cthulhu leaving. So there is the lone Mercedes in 10th place. Noxie down to 11th through the pit stop. And Jokus coming in now. So Alexis Maximus pitting. Shadow Rider moving up into that 2nd spot, but he hasn't got much fuel himself. Alexis Maximus still there in Tulu in 4th. Who's the car around? Oh, it's Jokus just behind Shadow Rider, is it? Or is it Alexis Maximus? No, not Alexis Maximus. It must be Jokus just behind Shadow Rider. So Shadow Rider back up into 2nd spot. Like I said, not much fuel. Alexis Maximus, half a tank of fuel. What is there, 5, 6? Oh, I don't know. It's hard to call if that's enough for the rest of the race. On the Super Softs, it's going to be tight. Stevie Styler ahead of his teammate, but his teammate has come in, put the Super Softs on, a little top up of fuel. Stevie Styler, he's got less than a quarter of a tank. How long can he stay out there in Tulu though? It's early for a pit stop. Can that go all the way till the end of this race? Jim Wise in 6th place, 7.3 seconds behind in Tulu, and 7.8 seconds ahead of Skyjacker. He will have to pit soon. If not this lap, the next lap. And Skyjacker, oof, he's going to have to pit before the end of the race. Kale under pressure from Jam. Jam putting it on. The South African, it looks like Jam's pulled it off. No, Kale, sorry, he's still holding it off from Jam. Jam trying all he can. Jam, the man that can. Wham bam, thank you Jam. He's looking like it. Looks like Kale made a small mistake, and Jam moving up into 8th position there. Shadow Rider's been into the pits. Alexis Maximus moving ahead of him. Shadow Rider going back out. Is Stevie Styler going to manage to move up to 3rd? No. Shadow Rider still holds that 3rd spot, and Stevie Styler, he will have to pit on the next lap though. 1.5 seconds behind. In Tulu, only 6 seconds behind Stevie Styler. Jim Wise comes in, and Skyjacker, will he have to come in also? Those Super Softs not looking great, but he stays out. So he's going to move ahead of Jim Wise temporarily, we say, and Jam is just coming around the last corner, so he's too far behind to hit Jim Wise. Jim Wise down to 7th, but like I said, Skyjacker will have to pit at some point before the end of the race. Matt Psycho, some 44.5 seconds ahead of 2nd place Alexis Maximus. Alexis Maximus, just over a quarter of a tank of fuel on the Super Softs. We're on lap 38, so only 7 laps to go. It looks like it's Matt's race, but 2nd place. Oh my lord, look at Stevie Styler, but Stevie Styler will have to pit at the end of this lap, but he's really caught up with Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider on his out lap, don't be distracted by the Ferrari. He's just trying to get his teammate ahead of you. He has to pit himself at the end of this lap, does Stevie Styler. Let's have a look though what it looks like. But we've seen the back end of that Williams quite a lot today. And there we see, he's gone into the pits. Oh, I've just messed that thing up now. Let me just sort that out for next time. A go-in car. So Stevie Styler into the pits. That puts it in Tulu, back up into 4th. Skyjacker, I think, is too far behind Stevie Styler to make anything of it, and he's got to come into the pits himself. He's only 1.5 seconds ahead of Jim Wise, and there we go. Jim Wise back into 6th place. There is Jam. Jam's on the start straight. Is that enough? It's not enough to go to the end of the race though, is it? Maybe. Only 6 laps left. Quarter of a tank for Jam. He's gone ahead of Skyjacker. Skyjacker now coming out in 8th place, ahead of his teammate who's also into the pits. Darren Salmon in 10th place. He needs to fuel up with Noxie in 11th, only 11.3 seconds. So I don't know how long Darren, it depends on how long Darren Salmon is stationary. He's going to hold that ahead of the Alpine team. Matt Psycho then, he needs to fuel also. His tank's quite red, but with 46 seconds he can afford to do that. Alexis and Maximus, quarter of a tank to go in his car. Shadow Rider some 9.2 seconds behind him, also a quarter of a tank. Looks like this is going to be the finishing positions. Still 6 laps to go, or 5 laps to go, sitting in Alexis Maximus's car. Now there's 5 laps to go for Shadow Rider. Intula in 4th, ahead of Stevie Styler, 7.5 seconds. Stevie Styler is a little bit faster than Intulu, but I don't know if he'll catch him up before the end of this race. But we can sit and wait and see. Jim on Wise, 6.3 seconds ahead of Jam. Will Jam need to pit before the end of the race? His fuel doesn't look too good. Skyjacker, some 6.6 seconds. He's put half a tank of fuel in. So maybe all of these guys with less than half a tank are going to have to pit again. Matt Psycho has come in. This should be his last stint, 5 laps. As IR Graham let us know earlier, 5 laps on the Super Softs. So Alexis Maximus coming around. There you go, Matt Psycho. It is nearly half a tank. It is nearly half a tank on that car. So maybe Alexis Maximus, Shadow Rider, Intulu, Stevie Styler put half a tank in as well. So maybe 2nd, 3rd and 4th still have to come in to the pit lane for extra fuel before the end of this race. Stevie Styler sitting in 5th place. Jim on Wise in 6th. His fuel's quite low, and Jam, his fuel's really low. Skyjacker in 8th place. He's put quite a bit of fuel in, only 6 seconds behind Jam. Like we said, Jam's fuel is flashing. He is definitely going to have to pit, so Skyjacker should get that place back. Oh, happy days for McLaren. They'll be dancing down the pit lane. Can't have Aston Martin running away with it, with a win and in 7th. So, well, Aston Martin having 2 wins so far this season. Jam then, he's gone into the pit. Skyjacker around the last corner and moving ahead of the Jam already. And I think Kale is into the last corner, but just no. There goes Jam, just under half a tank of fuel. So yeah, I think that confirms that the boys ahead are all going to have to pit. There you can see Alexis Maximus fuel is flashing. So is Shadow Riders. Intula's not quite yet. He's only 4 seconds ahead of Stevie Styler. That must put Stevie Styler is going to be up into... He could make it up into 3rd spot. Possibly not 3rd. But I think Stevie Styler is going to get that position off his teammate. Tulu in 4th, but only 2.8 seconds. There goes Alexis Maximus, the first one to pit. Next we should see Shadow Rider coming in. There he goes, Shadow Rider coming in Tulu. He's a little bit further back than these guys. He's just going into the last corner now. So Alexis Maximus straight back out again, just over quarter of a tank of fuel, brand new tyres. There goes Tulu into the pits. Stevie Styler up into 4th, Shadow Rider back out onto the track. But Stevie Styler only 2.8 seconds behind Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider's pace is going to have to go faster than Stevie Styler at this point in the race, with only 3 laps to go. Intula in 5th, Jim on Wise pitting. Can Skyjacker jump him? It's going to be close. Jim on Wise hasn't moved yet. There is Skyjacker going up into 6th. Has he gone up 6th? Jim on Wise in 7th. Skyjacker moving up into 6th place for McLaren. Happy days there for Skyjacker. Jim on Wise down to 7th. Jam in Aston Martin in 8th place. Kale 9th for McLaren. 10th for Darren Salmon in Mercedes. 11th for Noxie in the Alpine. And 12th for Jokus. We lost 2 cars then. We lost Cthulhu. No, just 1 car. We lost IR Graham at the beginning. Sorry. So there, Matt Psycho. 2 more laps to go. I believe, after this lap. 44 and lap 45, yeah. Alexis Maximus, some 8.2 seconds ahead of Shadow Rider. Nothing Shadow Rider can do about it now. That small mistake seems to have cost him second spot. But Alexis Maximus has been absolutely consistent all the race. Keeping it in the 28s, 29s, as you can see. Then his pit stops, 44, 40. So he's been having a great race. Shadow Rider, keeping it in the 29s also. Was that 32 when he had a little off. But it's Stevie Styler that Shadow Rider is worried about now. Stevie Styler whipping through his tyres. Shadow Rider on the newer tyres than Stevie Styler, but Stevie Styler doing a 28.6 on his last lap. He's going at a blistering rate, 7 seconds ahead of his teammate in Tulu, who's 18 seconds ahead of the McLaren in 6th. My word, as Matt Psycho lapped everyone up to 6th place. Saw Skyjacker getting the blue flags. Jim Wise there in 7th. Yeah, you can see Matt Psycho's just ahead of Jim Wise. Jam there in 8th. Oh, that's got to be a bitter pill to swallow for Jam, seeing the Aston Martin coming past. Kale in 9th, Darren Salmon in 10th, Noxie 11th, and Jokus in 12th. So Matt Psycho, some nearly a minute ahead, 50 seconds ahead of Alexis Maximus in 2nd. Alexis Maximus' last lap, a 28.7. Shadow Riders is going to be 28.4. It's his fastest of the race so far. It's only a couple of laps. I think it's all a little too late for Shadow Rider to be able to do anything. He's just got to try and stay ahead of Stevie Styler in 4th. Stevie Styler did a 28.6 his last time round, and 28.4 from Shadow Rider. So he's doing everything correct to keep that 3rd place from the Ferrari driver. And there in 5th is in Tulu. Isn't that where they finished last week as well? 4th and 5th. These Ferraris, just consistency and being close in the standings, just going to do great things for them in the manufacturers. Skyjacker in 6th, but he's got Jim Wise. He's got Jim Wise. This is the final lap. Where is he? He's not quite there yet. Where was that? There, Skyjacker and Jim Wise. They're very close together. Jim Wise did a 31.0 on his last lap, and is that Jam just behind them? My word, what a close finish here. I should be looking for the guys. Matt Psycho as he crosses the line. No, he's some way away yet. So we're watching Skyjacker ahead of Jim Wise, and it looks like Jam is only half a second behind these guys. But we're watching this battle all the way till the end. Matt Psycho crosses the line. No, he doesn't. Sorry. He's not even at the last corner yet. So there we go. Oh, it looks like Jim Wise dropped off the back of Skyjacker, and there's Jam trying to pick up a position right at the very end. Now we can see. No, he's not there yet. Sorry, guys. And there, oh, it's tight stuff. With Skyjacker, Jam, and Jim Wise all vying for positions. I think that's oh, Shadow Rider and Alexis Maximus. I don't know what's happened there, but Alexis Maximus under pressure. There's Matt Psycho crossing the line to take the win, and Skyjack stayed ahead of Jim Wise and Jam in 8th. There's Alexis Maximus only just maintaining this lead ahead of Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider really pushing. He was 8 seconds behind the last time we looked, but Alexis Maximus must have made a mistake on this lap, or maybe he was fuel saving, I don't know. But they're really battling it out now to the final part of this lap. Stevie Styler still only 1.5 seconds behind these guys. So it must have been Alexis Maximus who made the mistake. I know we're not watching a lot of the field crossing over, but these two. But it looks like Alexis Maximus, whatever it was, he's managed to get on top of it and stay ahead of Shadow Rider. Oh, Shadow Rider must have been thinking so close. So close, and Stevie Styler not far back in the distance, and the battle these three were having, absolutely amazing. 9th for Kale, 10th for Darren Salmon, 11th for Jokus. There we go, Alexis Maximus finishing in 2nd, And Stevie Styler, Shadow Rider in third, Take a Boo My Son. Stevie Styler in fourth, and Intulo just coming around for fifth place now. Lovely stuff, having a little wiggle. Skyjacker sixth, Jim on my seventh, Jam in eighth, Kale ninth, Darren Salmon 10th. I'll take you to the results anyway. Wow, there you go. Congratulations, Matt Psycho. Well done. I assume you got the fastest lap. He did. He did. He did. Right, I'll take you to the race results after 45 laps here at Alsace. What an absolute corker of a race. And there is your results. So 2 wins in a row for Matt Psycho. A great job there done by the Psycho. And he got the fastest lap on lap 22 with a 26.806. I don't think anyone else managed the 26s. He was in a league of his own today, was Matt Psycho. Alexis Maximus, a great second spot. Thought he'd lost it on the last lap, but he managed to maintain it for Red Bull. Shadow Rider, a great showing for Williams. Their season hasn't started, and now it has. After the first round, they didn't look too good at the back, but now third and a seventh is great stuff for the Williams team. So Shadow Rider, third spot, Take a Boo My Son. Stevie Styler, from having the early issues with Jam, managing to get himself up into fourth spot with his teammate Intulu in fifth. Great points for the Ferrari boys again, and that's going to reflect well in the championship and help them with some good development of that Ferrari. In sixth, we have Skyjacker in the McLaren, ahead of the Williams of Jim One Wise in seventh. In eighth, the Aston Martin of Jam, with ninth, Kale for McLaren. 10th, Darren Salmon for Mercedes. 11th, Noxie for Alpine, sorry. And 12th for Jokers. And I think along the way, IR Graham didn't make the grid through internet issues, and we lost Cthulhu somewhere in the middle of that race. Well done, Team Williams, boys, says Flashman. And Alan says, brilliant, Matt, congrats. Pat says, if not for a couple of spins, maybe a double podium. Pat says, great race for the team, fantastic for Matt. In a league of his own, he is. Racer Brown, congratulations, guys. Great racing again. So, yeah, that's all the commentaries, the chats, I mean. And it's time for me to wind it up to let you guys chill out for your Sunday evening and do whatever it is you do of a Sunday night. Keep an eye out in our YouTube for the brand spanking new Super GT Championship that started last Tuesday. I'll be doing the video for that this evening sometime, so just ready for you in your inbox for Monday. A boring Monday at work, you can have a sly watch of it on your phone. Thank you for joining us here. Oh, also, don't forget, pop in our Discord, because we've got that TT going on with IR Graham's Enduro, the kart thing. It's fantastic. We've got the Bathurst Enduro, but I think it's all filled up now. But please, get involved, come along, come with us on YouTube. I'm going to make my donation whilst we're on air to show you how easy it is, if you guys fancy doing that. Also, it's for a great cause for the Sick Children's Society. So, that's enough now, I think, of promo. I'll try and do some more promo later when I do the video. I was your broadcaster and a commentator, Norma Scocks. Thank you for viewing me. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for my ego and my head. I've got a hat that it doesn't quite fit in, and I'd like to swell my head up a little bit so I can put this new hat on. So if you hit that like button, it makes me feel good. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Catch you all again next Sunday live for the VRC. I think we've got the Max 5 starting up soon. That's full. We've got the Pacific Rims starting next week as well, so they'll be joining the YouTube videos. And that's all I've got to say, I think. Buy some heel tread socks. They are so comfy. Buy yourself an Acerlith design modded steering wheel, because they're fantastic. And get yourself some lovely stickers to put on them. thank you for watching. Like I said, I am Norma Scocks, and I will catch you on the downside. Love you. Bye.